Tuning in for some movie reviews. Film flickers and movie reviews. Let's hear those movie reviews. Film flickers and movie reviews. And action.
Hello Flickers, and today we are looking at the 2009 comic book adaptation Watchmen. This comes from a comic book originally by Alan Moore. It's one of my favourites. It's quite a gritty tale about superheroes, and these aren't the kind of goody two-shoes, do nothing wrong style of hero that you see kind of in Marvel and DC. These were very much normal people with vices and who sometimes went a bit too far. In particular, it's one of the heroes who went a little bit too far, a hero called Comedian, who is killed early on in the film. And the story has progressed by effectively telling the story of how his death is being investigated by another superhero, a guy called Rorschach, who's truly messed up. And that's basically the plot device that kind of ties everything together. Now, this film kind of got a bit of a bad rap when it first came out. I think it was mostly unfair. Now, the actual comic book itself, if you haven't read it, it's quite a complicated one. It's certainly a very big graphic novel, and it's like I say, it's one of my favourites, and it was one of the ones that truly got me into the more adult comic books rather than before, where I was mostly concentrating on the Marvel and DC, so really light titles, which I think most people were reading at that point. But it's a difficult story. It's got a lot of underlying themes, lots of political themes, things about war and nuclear proliferation, all sorts of quite difficult subjects that it covers. Things like relationships and subjects like that. So when it came to actually putting it onto the big screen, it's not surprising that it was a difficult job to do. Now, I'm not saying this film is perfect, but it does a far better job of making a screenplay out of the graphic novel than I ever thought would be possible. Now, most of the elements are in place. There are a few changes. Most of them are reasonable. The only change that kind of confuses me is the changing to the end. The original ending of the comic book was a pretty good and quite a clever ending, which tied a lot of the themes together. The ending in the film doesn't really add anything to the film. It certainly isn't a better ending, and I don't feel it was a more realistic ending than the actual comic one. So it's surprising they've done it. I mean, I can understand that they do this a lot of times. Like, you see a lot of the superhero movies where they change the origin of the superhero. Like Spider-Man has gone from being radioactive spiders to biologically modified spiders, and that makes sense because that's kind of, we used to be frightened of nuclear stuff, now we're frightened of biological stuff. That all makes sense. But the changes ending, it doesn't modernise anything, and it doesn't add anything to it. So I say it's a strange ending, but it's not a bad ending still. It's still not a bad ending. It's just, I think that they should have kept the original ending from the graphic novel. It would have made just as much sense, but with the added advantage that it probably would have annoyed a few less of the Watchmen fanboys. But it doesn't annoy me that much. It's just a strange choice, in my opinion. The acting is all in all really good. The actors really do hit their characters' marks really well. So I mean, some shout outs. The guy who plays Comedian is very good. The guy who plays Rorschach, who is a very complicated character, he's got a huge sense of justice where it's very black and white. There's no grey areas. If you're bad, you should be punished for it. In my head, in my memory, it was Eddie Redmayne. I think you'll see why when you actually see the film. But it's actually a guy called Jackie Earle Haley, and he plays it perfectly. And it's a very complex character, but it's played to perfection. And I say for most of them, that's the case. I mean, including some of the sub characters, like there's a bad guy, an ex-bad guy called Moloch. He's relatively pivotal, but not a huge character. But he still played really well, and it's a really strong performance. So yeah, I mean, I can't think of any bad performances in this film. And like I say, it got a fairly bad rap, and I think most of that was because Alan Moore didn't actually like the adaptation, so he effectively had all of his fans on his side. But he shouldn't have. I mean, this is genuinely one of the better adult superhero films, and it is adult. I mean, it was. I think it was an R rating when it first came out, and there is a lot of violence. I mean, it's a very brutal film. There's a sex scene, which, to be honest, didn't need to be in there. Doesn't do anything for the film. It just feels like kind of like they decided they should have a sex scene to make it adult, but anyway, it's in there. But everything about the film is good. I mean, the story is good. It follows the plot of the graphic novel pretty closely. The cinematography is good. No, this is genuinely worth a watch. If you haven't read the graphic novel, I truly suggest you do that. And this is worth buying. I mean, it's quite cheap. You can get the limited editions pretty cheap now, so I really recommend buying it if you haven't. I really recommend watching it, especially if you end up buying, say, Deadpool, another brilliant R-rated movie when it comes out on Blu-ray. Having these two together will give you an incredibly enjoyable back-to-back viewing of a proper adult superhero film. Well, thanks for viewing. I apologise, my voice is a bit iffy, and the reason why this video will probably be late because there's quite a lot of illness going around the office. So thanks for sticking with me, and well, bye Flickers.